While all the romantics are more famous as poets than theorists, it is also true that in their own ways they gave us certain kinds of theories also related to their poetry. And if all didn't, at least Wordsworth and Coleridge did it in details, and to some extent Shelley also through his defense of poesy, and Keats, who left us a moderately, useful legacy of his theoretical terms and concepts, etc. One of these is negative capability. Arguably, the most important term that Keats has given us, by common consent, the only term also, but there are other terms actually. This is not the only term, but there are other terms which he has given us through his the same letters. For example, the chamber of maiden thought, burden of mystery, etc. But most commonly known as is negative capability. What he means by negative capability is precisely this: a great writer has the ability to remain in doubts, uncertainties, etc., without, as he calls it, an irritating reaching after fact and reason. His model or ideal example here is William Shakespeare. And I have said this on numerous occasions, without reference to Keats also, that Shakespeare is a ventriloquist. It is very difficult to understand which of the voices in his plays represent his voice, because there are equivocal ventriloquist, if there is a term, it's like that. It is difficult to discern whether Hamlet's view is his view or Ophelia's view is his view, for example. So this is a related term from Keats. You need not always be determined as to what is the solution, what is the what is good and what is bad. As we say these days, there are gray areas. So Shakespeare was much more aware of this than all of us, possibly, and well before our time. For example, in if you take the case of genres, none of his plays are actually perfect tragedies and none are perfect comedies. Even Dr. Johnson noticed it. It is not only true about the so-called official tragicomedies, but his tragedies, for example Hamlet, Lear, there are comic scenes interchanged with tragic ones, which is not found in great tragedies of classical antiquity. So, in this way, though this is slightly exactly not what Keats meant, but I am giving an example. So, he said, Shakespeare possessed so enormously, I am quoting, negative capability. That is, when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact and reason. Coleridge, for instance. So, Shakespeare can remain in doubts. Take this quotation from, or this soliloquy from Hamlet: to be or not to be, that is the question. And by the time you come to the end of the soliloquy also, there is no conclusion that has been indicated by author or adopted by Hamlet whether it is right to be or not to be. So that is it. You can be just in between, like Bhaba's in betweenness, because in life also, just as Dr. Johnson defended Shakespeare against the allegation of mixing tragedy and comedy, Dr. Johnson said that in life also we never have unalloyed pleasure or unalloyed pain. So why, while in life there is a mixture of pleasure and pain, tragedy and comedy, why not in plays? Similarly, I would say that in our life also many things are not neatly drawn, though society and regulations want to draw neat lines. The criminals and non-criminals, married and unmarried. There are many people who may be married but living the life of unmarried, and vice versa, officially not married but actually married, maybe to young, other men or women or even other people's wives and husbands. Officially it is again called adultery, but that will again be a limited version, though adultery has been legalized. Similarly, sexuality, heterosexuality, homosexuality. Keats possibly did not have all this variation in mind, but in a way he had all of this because he gave us the key that Shakespeare can remain in doubts and uncertainties without sufficient reaching after fact and reason. This is negative capability. It is negative, but it is capability. People insist on the negative part. I would say that you insist on the capability part. That was also what kids wanted. As per, if we relate it to later developments, as per later theorists like Derrida, this is a feature of all texts. This kind of uncertainties. Of course, in Derrida's case, this is more linguistic, though in case of Keats and Keats's understanding of Shakespeare, it is more thematic. So Derrida calls precisely this thing aporia, I would argue. Though I don't think anyone has related negative capability with the concept of aporia, but you can. So, but then Keats was one of the forerunners of these things, that there are gray areas, and Keats forerunner in the sense that forerunner in theorization, but Shakespeare had already done it. So that is all about negative capability. Maybe just to end, we can say that we may approach that attitude. I mean, we may adopt that attitude for life also, so that we are not always pestilence stricken, kind of, to be neat and tidy, or to be in someone's good book or bad book, or to be successful or not to be. Life is a flux, a complex package, and a complete package too. So let things be as they are, without, you do whatever you want to as per your own wish. But the less we are motivated by external agencies like societal expectations or state machinery, the better. Individual freedom. And this is perfectly in sync with negative capability in a way, though this is my added interpretation. In brief, again, I repeat, the ability of an author to remain in doubts, uncertainties, etc. in his writings without showing any conclusive argument, incident, or spirit. That is negative capability, and Shakespeare had it to the fullest, which made him great according to Keats. Thank you.